In this video, you're going to learn how to write Facebook ads for lead generation that convert. Now, I'm talking about things like webinars, lead magnets like checklists and ebooks and PDFs, things like quizzes. If that's the type of thing you're running, then this is perfect for you. Now, I'm not going to tell you to do things like open your copy with a yes question or make sure you talk about the benefits and not just the features, because look, we've all seen that kind of advice hundreds of times now. It was great 2 or 3 years ago, but the truth is everybody is doing that on the platform now. Everyone on Facebook and Instagram is writing their ads that way. And the problem with that is if you go and do that now, you just look the same as everybody else. And by looking the same, it means you don't stand out, nobody pays attention. And as soon as people see your ad, they know it's an ad because every ad starts the same way and is written the same way. And so what I'll show you in this video is what's working right now. I'll show you things that you most likely haven't seen before so that you can go away, update your Facebook ads after watching the video and get better results. And if you're just getting started with ads and you want to learn how to write them and that's why you're here, then you'll be getting started on the right foot. So stick around to the end because what I'm showing you is what we're doing to bring in leads for under $3 right now on Facebook and Instagram. Now, before we jump in, you know what to do. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. That's all I ask if you're enjoying the content. It's really quick and easy for you to do, but it does mean a lot to me and it really does help this channel. And if you decide, hey, I want to hear more from this guy, I actually like what he's talking about when it comes to Facebook ads and digital marketing, hit the subscribe button, click the little bell, and you'll get notified whenever I release a new video. Now, first things first, let's have a look at how Facebook and Instagram actually works when it comes to the copy or the text in your ads. All right, so let's start with Facebook. When you're writing a Facebook ad, it can be as long as you want. There is no limit on how long the text can be. But it's really important to note that when your ad is displayed in the newsfeed on desktop or on mobile, only the first few lines are actually shown. To see the rest of the copy, people have to click the little more button and then it expands. Now, something else to note about Facebook ads is when you're writing them, you can include links in the copy and people will be able to click those links and it will take them off to the destination webpage. Now let's compare that to Instagram. On Instagram, you do have a limit on how long the copy can be. The maximum is 2,200 characters. It's also really important to note that only 1 to maybe 2 lines gets actually displayed when your Instagram ad shows up in the Instagram feed. Again, if somebody wants to read all of the text there, they have to click the more button. And a really important difference between Instagram ads and Facebook ads is that you can include links in the text of your Instagram ads, but when they show up in the feed, those links are not clickable. Now, if you've used Instagram before, you can see what a problem that is. Because if you've got copy that says, hey, click this link to download this item or to get this freebie, and people are on Instagram, they'll be trying to click it and it won't do anything. You can't even really highlight and copy the text on Instagram, okay? Which means they have to memorize the link and then open Safari and then type it in and hope that it works and they haven't forgotten something or mistyped it, right? It simply doesn't really work well. So why am I telling you these things about Facebook and Instagram before we jump in? Well, it's because we need to cater for these things when we're writing our copy. We need to understand how things appear on each platform and what the limitations are so that we can write the best possible copy that's going to get the results we want, which is people to read all the way through and then to take the action that we're telling them to take. All right, now let's move on to actually writing your ad copy. There are 4 elements that every piece of ad copy needs to have. The first one is a hook or a lead in. So this is simply the thing that draws people in, the big idea, the hook. The next thing is credibility. Every piece of copy needs to have something that proves your credibility or your expertise. In other words, you need to tell people why they should listen to you. The reason for that is because there are tons of ads in the newsfeed that people see every day with all sorts of claims and people are naturally skeptical because of that. So every ad should contain something that demonstrates why you're credible, why you're an expert, why people should actually listen to you when they see your ads. The third thing is content, something valuable. Make it so that people are actually getting value and enjoying reading what you're putting out there. A clear, coherent call to action. You got to tell people what you want them to do next if they've read all the way to the bottom of your ads. Okay, now that we know what every ad needs to contain, let's jump into the writing process. The first thing I want you to do is grab a pen and paper and write these things down for me. This seems like a bit of a tedious task, but trust me, once you do this, it makes the actual writing process so much faster, easier, and you'll actually get better copy. You'll get better results if you just do this first. So go grab that pen and paper and let's jump in and do this. The first thing I want you to answer is, what are the most polarizing opinions or thoughts in your industry or in your space? So what are things that really kind of people have a strong opinion or a strong stance on? A few examples. One for Facebook. One is Facebook organic reach is dead. There's no point even having a Facebook page and posting organically on there anymore because no one sees it anyway. Okay, that's a polarizing opinion when it comes to Facebook marketing. Another one, if you're in a local business, is fiberglass pools are better than concrete pools, hands down. And then another one from email marketing is growing an email list is a slow grind. It takes a lot of time unless you're willing to spend money. Okay, that's a polarizing opinion. Other people will be thinking, hey, no, that's not the case. And that's what you want. You want to find those things where people are either on one side of the fence or the other. So go ahead and write those things down. What are strong polarizing opinions that people have in your industry or in your market? Now, the next thing I want you to write down are the objections that people have that stop them from buying your product or service. What objections do people have? For example, in my industry, some people have the objection of, well, Facebook ads won't work for me. Facebook ads don't work in my niche, or Facebook ads, I've tried them and they don't work. That's a common objection that people have when they come to learn from me. Another one, of course, in my industry is Facebook ads are too expensive. Okay, common objection. So what are those things that people say to you when you're speaking to them that are holding them back from buying your product or service? Just write all of those down. And finally, another example of that, if we go with the email marketing example again, is I'm not an expert on X topic, so no one's going to be interested in what I have to say. Okay, a lot of people say that when it comes to email marketing. So the final question I want you to answer, and write this down, are the common questions that people ask you before they buy from you. So during the sales process, what are people asking you? For me, for example, it would be, okay, how long does it take for Facebook ads to start working? Or how much do I need to invest in order to get any kind of result from my Facebook ads? Back to the email list example, it could be, how much does it cost to grow a list? Or does it cost anything at all? Can you do it for free? Okay, simple questions like that. All right, so write those down and then we'll move on to the next section where we'll jump into actually writing your copy. Okay, so once you've got those written down, it's time to actually start writing your Facebook ad. Now, the first thing we're going to write is the lead-in. Now, you'll remember from earlier in the video, the lead-in is the very first piece or the first section of your ad copy. Now, the lead-in has one job because it is the only thing that is visible when people first see your ad. It's the only piece that people can see before they click that little more button. So its only job is to get your ideal customer or client to stop and then to convince them to click that more button and keep reading. That's its only job. You just want to hook them in so they click that more button and continue reading the rest of your text. Here's how you actually write a great lead-in. Okay, so what I want you to do is take one of the polarizing beliefs or the big objections that people have and use that as the introduction or as the start of your lead-in. Because what's going to happen is people will be scrolling through the newsfeed, and if they've got a strong belief one way or the other and they see something that goes directly against that, they're likely to look at it and go, huh? What's this? Like, I'm gonna check this out. This is interesting. Okay, so that's the first thing I want you to do. Okay, let's take our example from email marketing, where we said that it was a polarizing statement that people believe that email marketing is a long, slow grind unless you pay for it. Now let's turn that into a lead-in for our ad. Here's how it would look. We could say something like, growing an email list is way easier than you think, especially if you're just getting started. You can go from 0 to 100 subscribers surprisingly quickly without using SEO, without using paid traffic, and without using some sort of spammy tactics or hacks to get there. Here's how you do it. All right, so if we break that down, what you can see is I've taken that polarizing statement and I've said it's actually easier than you think. And you can go from 0 to 100 subscribers easily. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing back against that belief. And then I'm saying, look, you can do it without. And I'm saying without SEO, without paid traffic. And what I'm doing there is I'm addressing some of those common objections. So, you might have written down at the start, if we expanded on those objections, some objections would be, well, I don't know SEO. So, that makes email marketing hard. And, well, I don't have the money to pay for paid traffic. So I've weaved something. I've put those objections in the copy in the lead in. So I'm already hitting on those points that are going through the reader's head. Okay. And then the reason I put here's how is because what I want to do is I want to end this lead in with an open loop or with a statement that makes somebody want to keep reading. So you can see on the screen now, what we're doing is we're trying to write a lead in that cuts off just at that here's how. So that it's here's how, ... and then the more button. Because what happens then is people get to that point and they're like, well, I want to keep reading now to see how they actually do this. And they click the more button. If you can achieve that, then your lead in has done its job and we can move on to the next section. So the next section is credibility. Now this is where you just want to simply tell them, hey, this is why you should listen to me. This is who I am. This is why I'm an expert. And you want to do it in a way that's not bragging. You don't want to be the Lambo guy who pops up on YouTube or Facebook bragging about how they're making millions of dollars and blah, 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 blah. Okay, that stuff doesn't work. Avoid it like the plague. What you want to do instead is just weave it in quite a subtle way. Like, hey, I'm Andrew Hubbard, founder of Hubbard Digital. We run a digital marketing agency. And I actually shared this in an interview I did on the Art of Paid Traffic podcast. Now, in that example, you can see what I did there is I just briefly introduced myself, mentioned that I run a company, an agency. So what we're doing is telling people there that, hey, I actually do this for a living, so I've got experience. I'm not just making this up. And then I mentioned a popular podcast in the industry as a reference point, because what you're doing there is you're anchoring it against, you're saying, hey, look, I've been on these reputable podcasts. So I'm obviously somebody that can be trusted as well. And, I'm getting recognized by these places that you probably already know and trust already. So that's one example. Another example, if we go with email marketing again, could be something like, hey, I'm Andrew Hubbard, founder of Hubbard Digital. We're a digital marketing agency, and we actually figured this method out when we ran a trial with a bunch of our top clients and students to see how many of them we could take from 0 to 100 email subscribers in a week, and without having them pay any money to do it. So I knew we'd do well, but I was really surprised when we saw we had a 92% success rate. So I took that, shared it over on marketingland.com, and that's actually become one of the most read posts in the last 6 months over there as well. Now you can see what I did there. All I did was explain exactly how we came up with the methodology. So, explaining that, again, part of a marketing agency, we tested this on our customers and clients, then just sharing a little bit about the results that we got. And again, I used a credibility marker there. I mentioned that I write for a website called Marketing Land, which is big with email marketers, and just explained that it was popular there as well. So again, it's just a bit of a story there with that one to explain what this is, why it's credible, why you should listen to us, the results we've got, but weaving a bit of story in versus the first one, which is more direct and more fact-based. So that's the credibility part of our ads. Okay, so this is where you move on to the next section, which is your content. So this is the meat of the ad. This is where you really expand on the concept or the idea that you introduced in the lead-in. You go into more detail, and what you really want to do here is give them value, so teach them something. Then you want to really work on getting them excited about this idea and convincing them that, this is something they can do. So you want to start to address objections. That's what we're doing in here. So a great way that I like to address objections in the content of my ad is to use examples from students or customers or clients or even from myself, and use those examples in a way that specifically address objections. So take the objections that you wrote down in that list at the start and figure out how you can address each of those objections in your content. So let's carry on with the email marketing example here. And let's say one of our objections was that people believe that you have to create a lot of free content in order to build an email list. So to address that objection in our copy, we could say, look, you don't need to create a ton of content to do this. So we're getting specific here and just going straight to that, addressing that objection and saying, hey, look, you don't need to write a ton of content to do this. One of our students wrote one blog post. It took them about 2 hours to write, and that's the only content they created in order to go from 0 to 100 subscribers. The way they did it was through repurposing. We took that post, we repurposed it into 5 separate pieces of content, and we used that to fuel their lead generation efforts and build their list to 100 subscribers. Okay, so in that example, what I've just done there is we took an objection, we found a way to address it, and we nipped it in the bud straight away. We were very direct in saying, hey, guess what? You don't need to create a ton of content. And then we went about explaining how we did it. Now that's the other key point here. We talk about what we did, but we don't go deep into the how we did it at this point in the copy. One, because we're not trying to solve every problem on the planet in one ad. What we're trying to do is give them some value, but get them excited to a point where they're going to click on whatever we're telling them to go and click. So in this example, we might want them to go and click and attend a 1 hour training where they can learn more about this method. So we want to get them really excited about it, give them these examples, overcome objections, so that in the end they click our ad. And that moves us on to the next section, which is our call to action. So you've probably heard what a call to action is before. Most people know what it is, but in case you don't, a call to action is simply telling somebody what you want them to do next. So in this example, we're just going to say, if you want to learn more about this, I'm hosting a free training, or I've got a free PDF or an ebook, or if you want the step-by-step checklist that we use when we're going through a list building process, and then you say, click here to get it now. And if you're using it for a Facebook ad, then you put the link in. Now, what I want you to do is go through, write this ad, and you're going to write it for Facebook first, and you're going to put this link in. But after that, I want you to do something else. You're going to take that copy, paste it into a new document, and we're going to adjust it for Instagram. This is a really, really important part of the process. So you've just written everything using the structure that I mentioned, copy it into a new document, and we're going to restructure it for Instagram. 2 simple things you need to do. 1, check the character count. If it's over 2,200 characters, you need to shorten it up. Take some bits out, abbreviate, make things a bit shorter to get it below 2,200 characters. And the second thing you want to do is anywhere that you've got a link, change that call to action so that instead of including a link, it tells people to click the button in the ad. So you can choose what the button says on your Instagram ads. Most of the time I recommend just using learn more. So if I chose the button that said learn more on my Instagram ads, anywhere where I've said click here to get X and put a link, I'll change that to click learn more to sign up for free today, or click learn more to get this thing now. Okay, so what I'm doing is instead of putting links in my Instagram ad copy, which we know don't work, if you put a link in your Instagram copy, somebody will try and click it, it won't work, they can't copy and paste. We touched on that. So remove the links, and then you've got your copy ready for Instagram as well. Okay, now before we wrap this up, now that you've got copy, you know what structure to use, you know how to write that copy and include those 4 key elements that I mentioned, a couple of extra things you can do to really improve the performance of your ads straight away. 1, include links and calls to action at different sections within your ad copy. So pepper some links and some calls to action throughout that copy. Go back and look, can you fit a link in, or can you include a call to action somewhere near the start? Not in the lead in, but somewhere up near the top. Can you include one midway through? And of course, can you have one at the end? The reason for this is what we found is different people obviously have different preferences and they behave differently. Some people skim through, or some people will read the first bit of your ad, think, yeah, this is great, I'm in. And they'll want a link right there to click. They don't want to scroll all the way down to the bottom to find the link. Others like to read to the bottom, so have one at the bottom. So pepper those links through and you'll notice your click-through rate will increase. The second tip I want to give you, and this is a big one, don't repeat the same thing in the lead-in of your ad and have the same thing written as the text on your image. And for Facebook, where you can have a headline as well, don't say the same thing in the headline, because if you're saying the same thing in all 3 of these places, it's a complete waste. Think about it. When somebody sees your ad in the Facebook newsfeed, the first things they can see is the headline, the image, and the lead-in. So if you've got the exact same thing written in all 3 places, it's a complete waste. It's your opportunity to have 3 different things written there. You can see in the example on the screen now, this is a great example of an ad that does that. On the flip side, now you can see an example of an ad that just has the same thing written in all 3 places, It's just wasting all that free real estate that you have available that people see when they first stop scrolling and look at your ad. All right, so now that you know how to write great copy, one thing I'll tell you is if you don't have a great offer, meaning if the thing you're telling them to go and get or do or buy in your copy, if that offer isn't really good and it's not something that people want, then it kind of doesn't matter how good your copy is, right? Because if people don't want what you're selling or what you're offering for free, they're just not going to click. So if you want to learn how to create a great lead magnet or offer, click here, check out the video that I've created on that. That'll help you create a compelling freebie called, or a lead magnet, whatever you want to call it, that will actually compel people to click that and go and get it. The second thing is if your targeting isn't quite right, then it's going to be hard to get your copy to convert as well, because if you're putting it in front of the wrong people, it's not going to work. So check out this video if you want to improve your targeting and see my exact process for finding interests that are super relevant and that are going to work for your business. All right. Thank you again for watching. I always appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, all I ask is you click that thumbs up and give it a like. Really quick and easy for you to do, but it does make a big difference for the channel and it means a lot. If you actually want to hear more from me, if you think, hey, I don't mind what this guy is creating, click the subscribe button and click the little bell. You'll get notified that way every time I release a new video on Facebook advertising or digital marketing. All right, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.